fun එක next level කරන dialogue fan blaster.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Tuesday, the 10th of December 2024. Recovering assets. Sri Lanka to amend draft bill on stolen assets. Provisions for prohibiting possession of assets acquired through crime to be included. Sanctioned. US State Department sanctions 14 persons including Sri Lanka's former Russian ambassador Udayanga Veeratunga and former chief executive of Sri Lankan Airlines Kapila Chandrasena. OPEC backing. Sri Lanka secures $50 million from the OPEC fund to finance reforms in line with the IMF EFF program. Reaffirming excellence. TV Derana bestowed with Service Brand of the Year 2024 at the Slim Brand Excellence Awards.
The Service Brand of the Year goes to TV Derana!
TV Derana! Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama, Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
කණ්ඩ පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasafe වැස්සත් මට්ටුවෙන් ගෙදරත් තිස්නේ.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9 with Indivadi Amuata. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
And a very warm welcome. You're joining us tonight on First at 9 with the very latest from across Sri Lanka and around the world. Here we take you to your top story making headlines here in Sri Lanka. The US Department of State has imposed sanctions on 14 individuals, including Sri Lanka's former envoy to Russia, Udayanga Veeratunga, and former chief executive of Sri Lankan Airlines, Kapila Chandrasena, over their alleged involvement in corruption. The sanctions include restrictions on their entry into the United States and the imposition of visa bans. The sanctions against the former envoy to Russia and the ex-Sri Lankan Airlines CEO relate to alleged malpractice during a procurement of aircraft for Sri Lankan Air Force and Sri Lankan Airlines, respectively.
The US Department of State sanctioned 14 individuals as well as their immediate family members in line with the International Anti-Corruption Day and Human Rights Day. These include former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia Udayanga Veeratunga and former CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines Kapila Chandrasena. According to the Department of State, Kapila Chandrasena, during his tenure as the CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, accepted a bribe in exchange for facilitating the purchase of Airbus aircraft at prices exceeding market value. Meanwhile, former ambassador to Russia Udayanga Veeratunga has allegedly orchestrated and personally benefited from a corrupt scheme involving the procurement of MiG aircraft for the Sri Lanka Air Force. Additionally, the Department of State has sanctioned Arthur Gruby, a former Deputy Prime Minister of North Macedonia, Enver Bejati, a judge for the North Macedonian Court of Appeals, and Kevin Cady, a councilman for Rongelap Atoll in the Republic of the Marshall Islands. Further sanctions have reportedly been imposed on 9 individuals from Zimbabwe, Alpius Hassi Mahdi, a former deputy commander of the Indonesian Army's Koramil unit, and several others from Russia, Syria, the West Bank, and Yemen. The Department of State has stated that all sanctioned individuals, along with their immediate family members, will face entry restrictions to the US and visa bans under Section 731C of the Annual Department of State Foreign Operations and Related Programs Appropriations Act.
Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දුරු සුනේ කාගෙත් බලා අපේ සිංග TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්. Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Aspirations Education, a pioneer in overseas education. Meet our experts at top destinations worldwide, your trusted and caring partner in overseas education.
The United Nations Resident Coordinator in Sri Lanka, Marc-Andre Franche, is hopeful that the government of Sri Lanka's commitment expressed by the new government to protect human rights will be substantial and not be merely a spectacle. However, the UN Resident Coordinator expressed satisfaction with the government's pledges so far to safeguard human rights in the country. He made these comments during the national commemoration of International Human Rights Day today.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka marked International Human Rights Day with a ceremony at the BMICH today under the theme Our Rights, Our Future, Right Now. During the event, the HRCSL launched 4 publications.
Today,
the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka will officially launch these publications. First, The Status of Manpower Workers, a study of the Katunayaka and Biagama Free Trade Zones. Second, General Guidelines and Recommendations number 1 of 2024 on the protection of human rights defenders. Third, the draft of the General Guidelines and Recommendations on providing employment for persons with disabilities and disability-friendly work environment. And finally, selected recommendations issued by the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka in 2024.
We are certainly very encouraged by the new government's commitment in its manifesto during the campaign, in its declaration of policy in Parliament to prioritize human rights, by its commitment to address corruption, to strengthen institutions and rule of law, to ensure social justice, to promote national unity and integration, and the strong words against hatred, against divisive rhetoric. And certainly we are encouraged by many of the first measures that the government has taken over the last few months. And we're certainly encouraged because the government is seeing this not only as the right thing to do, but also as a fundamental condition if we are to recover from the economic crisis, if we are to develop and grow as a country. But these efforts can only be sustainable if the government takes them seriously, if support for strengthening rule of law, support for institutions, respect for the rule of law is not a sideshow that you do for the press on a Friday afternoon, but is the core part of exercising power, of exercising your responsibilities as the authorities.
Chinese Ambassador to Sri Lanka Xi Zhenghong reiterated China's commitment to strengthening Sri Lanka's education sector to help ensure that all children have proper access to education. Speaking at an event at the Colombo port city, the Chinese ambassador said China will continue to assist Sri Lanka in achieving growth and progress under the leadership of incumbent President Anura Dissanayake. Speaking at the same event, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya affirmed the MPP government's readiness to invest in the country's education sector.
An event was held at the Colombo port city today to mark the Chinese government's grant of 5.2 billion rupees worth of school uniform fabric to Sri Lanka.
Education is of extreme priority for our country, and China also values education greatly. For us as a government, investing in education is incredibly important. Investing in education means making it possible for all children, irrespective of any socio-economic difference or position, to be able to access education with dignity. There are many schemes that we have offered our school children to enable that access and to make sure that all children have access to a high quality education. At this moment, China has taken on the task of providing uniform material for all children of each and every school, plus all of those who are enrolled in our Pirivena system as well. We see this as a symbol of their enduring friendship between our two countries, but also, more importantly, an indication of China's investment in education and China's investment in the youth of our country.
Sri Lanka holds a special place in China's heart. Our two nations share history rooted in mutual respect, mutual understanding, and mutual support. And this bond has only deepened over the years. This moment today reflects China's unwavering commitment to Sri Lanka as your nation embarks on a new journey under the strong leadership of His Excellency AKD. Children are the future and the hope of every nation. China has made it a priority to support Sri Lanka's education sector. The Chinese government will continuously support Sri Lanka lead in education area in the future. The material we are celebrating today represents more than material aid. It's a symbol of hope, empowering the young generation, ensuring that every child has the opportunity to learn, grow, and dream of bright future. We are confident in the resilience and determination of his people and the guidance of his new government. Sri Lanka is poised to achieve new milestone of progress and prosperity. China stands firmly by your side.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
Diabetes all සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
Prime Group ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන land leasing ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ.
කිසිගින්නක් නැහැ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Preliminary discussions at ministerial level for the preparation of proposals for Budget 2025 commenced this morning under the patronage of President Anura Dissanayake. During the meeting, discussions focused on budget proposals related to the expenditure heads of the Ministry of Education. The discussion was also attended by Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. The Asian Development Bank has approved a $30 million small expenditure financing facility for the Ceylon Electricity Board to bolster the sustainability of ongoing and future energy sector projects. ADB Country Director for Sri Lanka, Takafumi Kondo, said the financing facility is designed to support the operational sustainability of ADB-financed energy projects, promote initiatives to increase the share of renewable energy and encourage private sector participation in the renewable energy sector.
ADB Country Director Takafumi Kadono added that the facility is expected to enhance post-completion activities of ADB-financed projects, feasibility studies for advanced renewable energy technologies, preparatory work for transmission and distribution upgrades, and capacity building in emerging technologies. The ADB noted that the financing facility will play a crucial role in supporting Sri Lanka's target of achieving 70% of its electricity generation from renewable energy sources by 2030. The facility complements Sri Lanka's broader power sector reforms and investment programs supported by ADB's Power Sector Reforms and Financial Sustainability Program and the recently approved Power System Strengthening and Renewable Energy Integration Project. These reforms aim to enhance the sector's financial sustainability, implement post-recovery tariff adjustments, and foster competitive renewable energy development. Of the total $30 million facility, $15 million will be allocated to enhance the operational sustainability of the Moragholla hydropower plant, while the remaining $15 million will support activities aimed at facilitating renewable energy generation and grid integration.
Government has approved the extension of the moratorium on the execution of parity law, which holds banks from acquiring creditors' properties until the 31st of March next year. Properties of small and medium-scale enterprises and entrepreneurs were being taken over by banks and auctioned due to them defaulting on loans, but this process was temporarily suspended until the 15th of December this year through the amendments made to the Recovery of Loans by Banks Special Provisions Act No. 4 of 1990. Government said it was decided to introduce a plan for the repayment of such defaulted loans instead of allowing the auction of properties. Further, a multi-dimensional mechanism to resolve this issue is to be prepared with the contributions from all stakeholders, including the central bank, government and private banks and other government institutions. A new digital driving license is to be introduced in Sri Lanka to replace the existing physical driving license. It has been nearly 15 years since the introduction of the driving license as a smart card, which is currently in use. Government says it has identified the feasibility of issuing a digital driving license as used in many countries in keeping with new technology, facilitating data exchange between multiple relevant institutions. The current issuance method will be continued until the new system is introduced. In new appointments made today, Dr. Anil Jasinghe was appointed as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Health and Media. Meanwhile, several other appointments were made to positions of the Ministries of Finance and Public Administration.
Dr. Anil Jasinghe was appointed as the new Secretary to the Ministry of Health and Mass Media. Dr. Jasinghe previously served as the Director General of Health Services and was later appointed as the Secretary to the Ministry of Environment. He has also served as the Director of the Colombo South Teaching Hospital and Director of the National Hospital of Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, several other appointments were made to positions of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Accordingly, M.K. Pradeep Kumara was appointed as the Director General of the Department of Trade and Investment Policies. He previously served as an Additional Director General of the Office of the Controller General. PMK Hettiarachchi, who is presently serving as the Director of the Department of Development Finance, was appointed as the Director General of the same department. Similarly, U.L. Udayakumara Pereira will be appointed to the post of the Commissioner General of Excise. In the meantime, Vimal S.K. Lianagama will be appointed as the Director General of the Department of Management Services of the Ministry of Public Administration.
Now, Sri Lanka has decided to revise provisions of the crime bill with a specific focus on the recovery of stolen assets. Government will also receive $50 million in financing from the OPEC fund as a loan linked to the International Monetary Fund's extended fund facility to Sri Lanka to finance the comprehensive reform agenda undertaken by the island. It was also disclosed at the Cabinet media briefing today that Sri Lanka Railways is to receive 22 used locomotive engines from India as a grant.
There
were recommendations presented to draft the Proceeds of Crime Bill with the aim of preventing and depriving any person from benefiting from the proceeds of crime and recovering assets acquired through the proceeds of crime. The committee appointed, headed by a Supreme Court Justice, to prepare the preliminary draft in relation to this matter has recommended amending the already prepared draft by including several provisions. The Cabinet approved the decision to advise the legal draftsman to further amend the Proceeds of Crime Bill based on said recommendations.
සංශෝධන කිරීම සඳහා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ අනුමැතිය ලබා දුන්නා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව සඳහා ඩීසල් එන්ජින් 22ක්
Indian Railways has agreed to provide 20 improved engines of the used M10 locomotive model to the Sri Lanka Railway Department, along with 2 additional locomotive engines and spare parts required for their maintenance as a grant. The project committee has shown that the Sri Lanka Railway Department possesses the necessary expertise for maintaining the relevant locomotive engines. Accordingly, the Cabinet approved the proposal to sign the agreement to accept the grant of the 22 engines.
ලබා ගන්නත් එහි නඩත්තු කටයුතු දුම්රිය දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවෙන් සිදු කරන්නත් කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේ අනුමැතිය හිමි වුණා.
During the briefing, the cabinet spokesman also commented on the president's visit to India.
ජනාධිපතිවරයාගේ ඉන්දියානු ගමන
The president's visit to India will be from the 15th to the 17th of December. Meetings with the Indian Prime Minister and other high-level delegations are expected. Apart from the President, the Foreign Affairs Minister and the Deputy Minister of Finance will join the trip.
අමාත්‍යවරයා සම්බන්ධ වීමට නියමිතයි.
He also commented on the issue pertaining to the liquor licenses issued by the previous government.
පවත්වාගෙන ගියපු
There is approximately another 7 billion rupees in taxes that needs to be collected from distilleries, and the government is currently working on it.
During the briefing, questions were raised regarding the US sanctions imposed on Sri Lankans, the pertaining shortage of rice stocks, and the bonuses for the employees of the CEB.
පසුගිය කාලේදී මෙවැනි ආකාරයේ
We are a team that raised our voices against corruption even back then. As I said, we will recommence all stalled cases and legal action will be taken. The US decision to impose sanctions on the people involved in the MiG aircraft and Airbus deals will also help the government take action as these deals have taken place outside our jurisdiction. The rice issue is a short-term issue we had to face. We do not intend to continue these controlled prices. We are not going to give bonuses to CEB employees because a majority of the CEB's profits has already been used. At the moment, the CEB can only maintain the current tariffs. Earlier, we said that the electricity tariff could be reduced by 33%, and we still believe that. However, calculations are now being done based on the cost of production over the past 6 months. We will definitely direct the CEB to provide tariff relief within the next 6 months.
TV Derana reaffirmed excellence at the 23rd edition of the Slim Brand Excellence Awards with the honour of the Service Brand of the Year 2024. TV Derana was the only media network to secure an accolade at this year's edition of Slim Brand Excellence.
The Slim Brand Excellence 2024 was held in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte last evening. Organised by the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, the Slim Brand Excellence Awards celebrate the highest levels of brand excellence in Sri Lanka.
This is Slim Brand Excellence 2024.
The ceremony saw the participation of over 200 leading brands in Sri Lanka, where the brands were evaluated under several categories. TV Derana was awarded as the Service Brand of the Year 2024.
Merit Award of the Service Brand of the Year goes to TV Derana.
Y'all ready for this?
The award was significant as it was the only accolade secured by a media network at this year's edition of Slim Brand Excellence.
අපේ දේ රැකගෙන අලුත් දේ අරගෙන
A committee will evaluate and recommend an effective mechanism for the utilization of government-owned bungalows, including Visumpaya in Colombo and presidential residences across the island. Cabinet spokesperson Minister Nalinda Jayatissa said that there are 50 government bungalows in the Colombo 7 and Colombo 5 areas under the authority of the Ministry of Public Administration, provincial councils and local government. With that, here are a few other cabinet decisions made this week.
The Cabinet of Ministers has approved a proposal to introduce a suitable mechanism for the utilization of bungalows, including Visumpaya and presidential residences located in various parts of the island. These properties, currently under the administration of the Ministry of Public Administration, will be managed in an economically beneficial manner. At present, there are 50 government bungalows in Colombo 5 and Colombo 7, alongside presidential residences in Colombo, Kandy, Norelia, Mahianganaya, Anuradhapura, Kataragama, Jaffna, Ambilipitiya and Benthota. These properties are maintained by the Presidential Secretariat. To facilitate this initiative, the Cabinet of Ministers has approved the appointment of a committee to examine the matter and provide necessary recommendations. The Cabinet of Ministers has also approved the establishment of a Food Policy and Safety Committee under the President's Office. This committee will be co-chaired by the Minister of Agriculture, Livestock, Land and Irrigation and the Minister of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development. Its membership will include secretaries of the relevant ministries, the Secretary to the Prime Minister and representatives of all relevant institutions. The committee's primary objective will be to provide policy guidance through scientific analysis based on data and information, ensuring food security and national security. Additionally, the Cabinet of Ministers has approved a monthly allowance of 9,375 rupees for small fishing boat owners. This allowance will be provided for a period of 5 months to mitigate the impact of the economic crisis on the fisheries industry. Initially, the allowance will be granted to active small fishing boats registered with the Department of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources that utilize kerosene oil as fuel. Meanwhile, the ongoing relief measures for diesel-powered boat owners will continue.
And that's all from us here tonight.